I'm going to start in now. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
I've got to share a quick story with you. I'm going to take up about 30 minutes of your time. But the story that I'm sharing is today is my first day back after spending a week in Maui. And the reason that I was in Maui was because I was on our President's Club trip. And the reason that I was on our President's Club trip is not because I have extraordinary talent, but it's because we are in an industry where you're very capable of making a major impact. Along the way of earning my way to Maui, I made some very good money. And I made good money because I was able to focus on some of the things that we're going to be working on Monday. Monday, for everyone who is involved, is going to be a very important day for you. And the reason it's going to be an important day for you is that, except perhaps with the exception of Aaron, who is going into sales admin, your ability to make phone calls, call the right people, get through, and make appointments will be paramount to the continuation of your employment. I cannot state that enough. This is a great industry to be in, and it's a great time to be in this industry. And this is a great company for you to be able to be in. In September of this year, I will mark my 17th anniversary with the Rainmaking Company. That's a longer tenure than I've had with any other company. And for someone in our industry to be able to be here for 17 years not only says something for the person, but it also says something for your company. And so I want to encourage you to, number one, when you come on Monday, be diligent. Number two, that you be prepared. And number three, that you get the task accomplished. My expectations for each of you is to make call after call on Monday. I do not want to see call reluctance. Call reluctance, or the inability to make call after call, unfortunately, will result in a reversal of fortune for you. And since it would be a reversal of fortune to you, I am really hopeful that your sense of urgency to get the job done will be very, very high. When I started with Rainmaking Company in 1999, the program that we're going to talk about is the exact program that got me off the ground. And it got me off the ground in a dramatic way because it allows you to have Can everybody hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, here we go. Are you there?
I still hear you.
Okay. It's going to allow you to be able to make an impact in the company and make an impact relatively quickly. And as a result of that, I want to tell you that on this day, on Monday, when we are together, we are going to make call after call. And your ability to do that continuously will be very valuable for you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I can.
I can hear you. Oh, there we go.
Now we can.
I don't see Jim.
Yeah, I don't see him either.
And I don't.
He got back
There.
a while. He's frozen.
I'm back with you, but I'm going to come to you over the phone. I have a very bad connection. The squirrels are misbehaving in Nevada City today. Here's
That's
the
okay.
behaviors that I would like to see you exhibit when we get together on Monday. So what I want you to do is I want you to not have any call reluctance. It's extremely important that you not show this. You need to be dedicated to your task. I'm very disappointed that Jim and Jorge could not make it on this phone call. They also needed to have this
I'm
message.
here.
I hope that
I'm
they're
here.
Jorge is on.
we
Jorge
are
is
going
on,
to have
Jim.
a script that we will be using. You need to go over that script. You need to understand that script. That script will be your Bible on Monday. On that script is also some very important objections that you may need to overcome when you're on the phone. You need to come with local references. These local references will be very important to your talk track, to the calls that you make. Telemarketing is a game of numbers. However, one of the things that I will unveil to you on Monday is that everyone will have to create an environment where they have 10 appointments per week. Should you be capable of scheduling 10 appointments per week, you will experience success like you never have in your career. And that will be very important to you. In addition to that, by making the right calls in the right ways, you will gain confidence. That confidence is extremely important as you move forward. Everybody would like to have a quick start, but my question is, are you willing to put in the time and the work to orchestrate that quick start? But the bottom line is that your performance will be closely monitored on Monday, and your ability
I just lost Jim.
I did too.
I did too. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
I can hear
Yeah,
you.
hi,
Mark.
Jorge.
Hi,
Yes.
guys. I'm just so worried that he thinks I'm not in the meeting.
We'll
Hi.
let them know. Hey,
Hi,
no
boss.
problem.
It's good to see you.
So,
Very excited
Alicia,
to be here.
can Jim just hang up from the video and just do the phone call?
the phone
I'm
call.
sorry. Could you? Oh yeah, he's back.
Can you hear me on the phone call, Greg?
Well, no, we can't now. I mean, it's cut out for about a minute, 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
So I wonder if what number are you on? Are you on this 562 number?
I am, yes.
Alicia, does it
I
help
can
if he
hear
hangs
him
up
now.
the internet and just calls on that phone number? I don't know why it would be.
Well, my network, let me finish by saying this to you, and I'll try to say it as quickly as possible. And then, Greg, if I vanish, you'll have to go over the script, and you'll have to go over the objections. Comcast is due out next week, and I hope they can work some magic for me. But those having no reluctance, going over your script and knowing it well, knowing how to overcome objections, coming with local references, knowing that this is a game of numbers, and also allowing this to permit you to gain confidence will be really important. You need to bring with you a good account list. You need to make call after call, and you need to realize the importance of the time that we will be spending on Monday. Greg, why don't you take it over there with, as much as I would like to, why don't you take it over there with the initial call script, since your connection is a little bit better than mine, and I'll add things if I stay live.
Okay, sounds good. So the Rainmaker guide, I think you've all, has everybody received the Rainmaker guide? Everybody? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I
Okay, good. It's a kind of a book that Jim and I have kind of co-authored over the last 15 to 17 years, and it's different things we've picked up, doing it ourselves. Both of us, started in this company as sales reps and have done various jobs, manager jobs, major account sales, sales management, trainers, and we've both done that. And, this is from experience and what works. And, Jim makes good points. We want you to be motivated, challenged. I use the word, it's going to be mentally challenging, but this business is mentally challenging. And we want you to be able to rise to that challenge, because if you're going to be successful in this business, you need to do that and take that next step. So, and as I say that, Jim made a comment earlier about it's a great time to be in the industry. It's fun. It's fun to be successful. It's fun to go to these trips and know that you've accomplished things. You know, we call it some of the things we've been able to do the Beeman moment. And a Beeman moment is when Bob Beeman won the Olympics, and he went way farther in his record setting than anybody has ever gone before or since then, because he rose to the occasion. And this is kind of a business. Are you going to be able to rise to the occasion? Because Rainmaking Company has the cream of the crop. We have the best sales team in California and Nevada. We sell more than any other organization in those states. And we feel like we have a great solution that helps customers. So as Jim says, it is, you know, you have to come in ready to go. I also want you to know that it is a consultative, collaborative approach. And from a business standpoint, one of the reasons that I think Jim and I have been pretty successful in putting this program together, from my perspective, I make the financial decisions of Rainmaking Company. If somebody comes to me and is professional, they have local references, they're compelling, you know, I will meet with anybody for 15 minutes. Because if I can find a way to save money for my company, and so that's what this is kind of based on. And we've taken different scripts, we've looked at other programs, we've kind of combined into what we think is a pretty good program. But the initial telephone call should be simple. Now, when we get somebody live, we should have a good chance. And when you get good at it, and I would, like Jim says, practice it. Practice, practice, practice. It's not that much. We try to make it simple and short. And I don't know if you can scroll down a little bit there, Alicia. Thank you. It is it should be a 30 to 45-second conversation. And when we get somebody live, you should get to the point where, you know, 30 to 40 or sometimes as much as 50% of those people that you talk to live will meet you for 10 or 15 minutes if you do it right. Now, the challenge above, you know, getting somebody live is, how do I leave voicemails and emails? And that'll be a subject for another day. We'll talk about that a little bit at boot camp. And we have a direct marketing campaign that's not included in the Rainmaker Guide, but we will put that in there. But it's a simple process. It's, hello, my name's Greg Martin. It's important to be enthusiastic, have your smile come through the telephone, and, you know, just arm them right away with your enthusiasm. Hello, my name's Greg Martin with the Rainmaking Company. How are you today? Thank you for taking my call. I know you're busy, so I'll be brief. I'm a business automation consultant that helps companies reduce costs in the areas of document technology. And if that's a little bit of a sentence there. Sometimes, you know, and I would kind of say, if you guys are more comfortable with it, simplify that by saying the option 2 is, I specialize in helping companies save money. Or we specialize. Right now, when you're new, the we word is probably more important. When you're talking about references, they're really not your references yet. You're going to have plenty once you start becoming successful. But for right now, it's we specialize, or we are in the business automation business type of thing. So I would say we specialize in helping companies save money. Now, go ahead and scroll down there, Alicia, so you guys can see how that looks. Now, this is something that Jim and I added, and it helped our appointment ratios double and triple. Because if they say yes to this, you kind of have them. It says, can I assume in this economy that saving money would be one of your priorities or goals? You know, you choose one or the other. And who's going to say no? They're all going to say yes. Once they say yes, we'll see how that comes back into play later. And then references. Are you familiar with University of Nevada, Reno, and Silver Legacy Casino, or Reno? Or if I'm in Sacramento, are you familiar with 2 companies? And it's up to, and Alicia, let's make sure that the managers give everybody references. I kind of named out some big ones. You don't want to necessarily say the big ones if you're calling a smaller company. So great, we've made significant impact on lowering those costs. And this is another assumptive closing statement. Jim and I both teach a lot of different techniques. Last objection close, assumptive closes, open-ended questions. But Well, that's great that you know about those companies. We've done a great job for them in helping them lower their costs and become more profitable. As a matter of fact, when we meet, I will bring some specific contact information on those accounts. Then the purpose of your call, the purpose of my call is to schedule I don't know why 10's in there, we just switch that to 15. You can take 10 to 15 minute meetings to show you some sample case studies of companies we've worked with and see if this might be of value to you. Do you have your calendar available? So again, another little thing that we've changed over the years, instead of trying for the appointment, it's an easy yes, because most people have their calendar right there available, whether it be their smartphone, their desk calendar, you have their whatever mobile device they have, or how they're keeping track. So great. Now this is something I would change a little bit for you guys, because kind of go back down a little bit, Alicia, to that part about the timing of it.
Can I ask you a question, boss?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I
Please.
was wondering where I can find the references list. So it's incredible.
Okay.
It's actually
Yeah,
Jorge,
Yeah.
you are in Merced and South Modesto. If you talk to Andreas, he will get you 5 great references that you'll be able to use that day.
Yeah, and he's reporting to Vince, so Vince can get them for you too, Jorge, either one of them, right. So you just need a couple of them that are recognized. Well, you can say, Foster Farms is a good one. University of Merced, Stockton Unified. I mean, we have hundreds of them. That won't be a problem. Now, I would change this a little bit, because this is kind of what we wrote for, our veterans. And one of the reasons we did this is to let them know that you're busy too. But I think right now for you guys, you should have a calendar of when you're working with your manager in the field. And your manager should go with you on your first few appointments. So it depends on your schedule. I'm currently busy with some other client projects for the next few weeks, and I wouldn't skip the next 2 weeks. I'm currently busy with some other projects. Do you have any time the week of, and for you guys, since you'll be here next week, I would say, do you have any time the week of March 14th to fit me in for 10 to 15 minutes? What works for you? Okay? So, just...
Let me say this about overcoming objections too. There are 2 techniques that I have used very successfully. Now, if somebody says, what is this about? Why are you calling me? What is our normal reaction? Our normal reaction is to explain to them what the call is about. I don't even do that anymore. What I do is I use 1 or 2 techniques. I might buffer it by saying, I totally understand where you're coming from. Many of my best clients today voiced that original concern. Now, remember, they asked you, what is this all about? And what I will say is I will grab a statistic out of your Rainmaker book, and I'll say that statistics prove that up to 10% of your revenue is eaten up by the operation of your office technology. Now, your number may not be that high, but even if it's close to that, it is a significant amount. We believe that if you were able to reduce that somewhat or significantly, it would make a difference for your business. Do you agree? So you take a look at it, and the limited agreement of, I understand where you're coming from. And then the third-party references, some of our best accounts today originally said that. We'll usually start to diffuse the situation, and then grab some statistics or other compelling statements that make them want to do business with you. And in the first half hour we have together on Monday, we're going to discuss a few of those just to get them cemented in there for you. But that is how, that's, I think, the best way of overcoming objections. When you get one, we always think of the ordinary way to do it. But I'm going to tell you, let's do it the extraordinary way and get good results. Sorry, Greg.
Right. No, that's fine. That's good. And, and that's another reason why, because you're going to get, what's this about? I'm too busy, and I don't need you. Those are the 3 common objections you're going to get. And I think going back, Jim's first one is, well, some of our clients, like I mentioned earlier, had a similar type of questions or concerns. And earlier you said that saving money would be a priority for you. Is it 10 or 15 minutes of your time worth the investment to look at some ways to potentially help you reach your goals? Can you squeeze me in the week of March 21st for 15 minutes? What looks good to you? Those type of things. So when you do it, I think you try to answer their objection. You come up with a feel, felt, found. You come up with a, hey, I understand what you're saying. And then you come back with, you answer it, and then you ask for another date. Okay? So
let me say this. Guys, you need to practice this before Monday. You need to take the time to get it down so that when you are on the call, you sound very natural. So whether it be tomorrow or over the weekend, before you arrive on Monday, get this down pat so that you'll sound very good to the customer when you're talking to them and like you have the confidence that will merit you getting an appointment.
Good. Any questions, Carrie, Chris, Aaron, Jorge, on this?
I just have a comment. In regards to finding decision makers, this is in regards to cold calling. Is it okay that we find the business owners on LinkedIn?
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about, Vince is going to give you, and again, Alicia, please follow up. Vince is going to give you, Matt Pierce will give Chris, Kareem or Maria will give Carrie, Dean will give Jim a list of 50 accounts, and that'll be your first list. But yes, Jorge, finding people on LinkedIn, we have our Salesforce database. Kareem over in North Bay has a book of lists, and we're prominently displayed in there, and it has the top 50 businesses for different. So there's a lot of ways to find those. And, Jorge, you make a good point. This conversation is best had with a financial decision maker, an owner, a president, a C-level person, because they're going to be more receptive to look for ways to improve their company, reduce costs, become more sustainable, become more efficient, reduce labor costs, all that. Sometimes a purchasing agent or office manager, it's just more work for me. They're not going to be as receptive. At some point, we have to deal with those people. And we'll talk about that in training next week. But ideally, our whole rainmaking proposition is dealing with financial decision making.
So the 50 people that we're going to come with, some of them may be people that shoot us down. Some of them may be people that will discuss this with us. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're going to have all, we're trying to give you some of the high-level objections and the kind of the perfect scenario. But, yeah, it's going to be a little trial and error. And, you still want to get an appointment right now with an ops manager, a purchasing agent, an IT person. But the home runs come when you get a meeting with a financial decision maker. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit all over the board. And, again, I would encourage you guys to make sure that you get familiar with your accounts, because we asked your manager to assign you all 300 accounts before you were hired. And because we don't want to, hamstring you folks into not being successful because you don't have the right accounts to call on. Now, there's going to be field calls, and some calls, if you're walking the street and knocking on doors, it's a little bit different. We like this, Jim and I like this, because you can call a lot more people and find out a lot more information over the phone. But, going out in the field and making calls, you can be more powerful and probably be at times more successful, and you can find some of those things out. And we'll talk about, next week, how to get past the gatekeeper and different things. So the rest of this stuff is just, we don't need to go through this. It's just something that's in your guidebook that you can look through. This is kind of the way I memorized it in those bullets. And then this is the whole thing written out. But I would, I think, like Jim said, practice it. I would write it out in my own words. Don't miss these points. Don't skip these points. You want to simplify a couple things, fine. Talk through it, practice it, get somebody to record you on a cell phone or look in the mirror or whatever. And make sure you're smiling, and then you put your bullets and you can start doing it, and so you're natural at it. Okay? Okay. So any other questions, and then we'll go on to kind of this is the voicemail. So a lot of times you're going to get voicemail. So it's got to be, again, enthusiastic. So this would be a sample voicemail that you are leaving on Monday if you get the voicemail. Hello, my name is Greg Martin. I specialize in helping companies save money here at the Rainmaking Company. I've worked with we have worked, don't forget to change we have worked with hundreds of Napa County or Clark County or Washoe County or Sacramento County or whatever county you're working at, including a couple of references. I'm calling you to schedule a 15-minute meeting to share some case studies and how they might apply to you. My schedule is available the week of March 21st. Please call me at 530-228-6065. And if you happen to get my voicemail, if you wouldn't mind leaving a date and time you're available to meet, and I will calendar that. Okay? So that's the voicemail. Again, you can tweak it a little bit to where you're from and what you're comfortable with. Those are the basics. And then, again, when we go through the Rainmaker guide and some of the training, we'll go through some of these other things. We're gonna switch you guys though from the full 11-step email process to a drip campaign, and we'll start that for phase 2. We'll go through that next week also. Okay? So now when we get to the appointment, and again, we don't expect you guys to be great at this right away, but within a few weeks, we want you to be able to go on some of your own appointments. Right now when you get those DTA appointments, and again, we say DTA internally. I would never say that to a customer because what's a DTA? Well, I would say when we do an assessment, when we do a document technology assessment or a business assessment, that should be the external way of doing that. So let's go down to that. So when you start an assessment, your meeting, it really is scheduled to be for 15 minutes. Has anybody watched the role play that I did with Russ Patty?
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome when you transitioned with we hit a home run. That was awesome.
Yeah, so it's good. So everybody should watch that. It's a little long, and mainly because Russ was in training and he was, I don't know if he was trying to throw me lob balls or whatever, but it was a little bit too much on his end. But really, these appointments should take about 15 minutes. I made mention on my email that you don't have to memorize the whole thing. It's okay to look down, look up, take notes, make different comments. So the first thing always is to greet, hi, thanks for taking the time to meet with me today. As we discussed, we'll limit this meeting to around 15 minutes unless you ask some questions. So I've taken the liberty of preparing an agenda. Give them the agenda. So they're looking down, and you're looking down and out, and they are too. No big deal. You don't have to memorize the whole thing. What we'd like to do today is exchange information regarding about our organization, determine what your objectives and challenges are regarding managing your document technology, go through some compelling trends and our opportunities the document technology industry offers, explain a consultative and collaborative process, determine if you think there's value to your organization, and, Alicia, scroll, please. Determine the next step. Is there anything else you'd like to do? See, I don't even have it memorized. I've done it 100 times. So it's no problem to have it in front of you. So then let's go to the next one here, and this is really the outline of what you should do. The key to the whole thing is asking great open-ended questions. There's called explicit needs and implicit needs. Explicit needs are when you ask a question to somebody and they tell you that they want to buy your product or they want to move forward or they want to do something that comes out of their mouth. That is 10 times more powerful or maybe more than if you're telling them what you think they need. So if you ask good open-ended questions and you get that client talking or that prospect talking, it's going to be easy for you to slow down, gather your thoughts, look at your next note, pay attention, write down some notes on what they're saying so you remember it, and it looks like it's important to that prospect that you are taking notes and paying attention. That's the key, and it makes it so much easier. That's why we've talked about some questions here. The first thing business owners and financial decision makers like to do is they like to talk about their company. Okay, so the first question is, what are some of your business goals or initiatives for the next 12 months? Listen, take notes. As you get better, as you get more experience, you can prompt them on that if they don't give you what you want. But at the end of the day, what you're going to get is you're going to get, you know, if you ask me as an owner of a Rainmaking company, I'm going to tell you we want to be more profitable. You know, some companies might want to grow revenue. Some people have to take care of their budget. But at the end of the day, people are in business to make money, or if they're a government, nonprofit, municipality, to balance their budget and stay within their budget. So what are some things you're doing to reach these goals? Again, get them talking about their company. And if you want to prompt them, is that right? Oh, great. Tell me more. Those type of little prompts throughout this are going to help you get them talking. The more they talk, the more they're going to like you. And the more they're going to be, you know, absorb what you're trying to get across. Now, here's a good one. Here's probably the one that really sets you up. However, have you ever closely evaluated your entire document technology process to help you gain your goal of whatever they said on question A? If they told you more profitable, they said reduce operating costs, grow revenue, balance their budget, meet their budget. Have you ever closely evaluated your entire document technology process in order to help you get your goal of profitability? And then it's a statement of why I'm here. You know, I'm a business automation consultant specializing in helping companies reduce costs and increase staff productivity. We've helped a couple of these companies that I mentioned on the phone, and again, this is very important that you name off companies that you believe that they are familiar with, and we should be able to do that. Like Jim said, you can go to Modesto, you can go to Reno, you can go to, you know, Napa, Roanoke Park, Santa Rosa, Sacramento. Any of these companies that we can talk about are compelling. Now, be careful, like I said earlier, if you're talking to, you know, XYZ Plumbing, you might want to tell them, you may not want to tell them, you know, we just got the Sacramento Kings contract, because they don't relate to that. But we've done business with small, medium, and large, and you want to tailor those when you go to these appointments, you know, to those type of accounts. And then we have the proof source, and we'll show you some.
Sorry, I completely missed what you recommended to be careful with. Can you please repeat that? I'm sorry.
Oh, be careful, Jorge, about dealing with a very small company and telling them you got Stockton Unified, you got UC Merced, and you got Gallo Wine. You want to come up with references they can relate to. That make sense?
To make them feel familiar with the companies we're working with. So companies in the same level, I guess employee size.
Parallel
Similar.
company.
Yes, right. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but as close as you can get to it. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Proof source. One of my favorite sayings is, do you realize that typically in an office, the third highest expense behind payroll and rent is document technology costs? And that is something that a lot of people don't realize. You heard Jim say earlier, as much as 10% of a company's revenues can be consumed by document technology costs. And we'll show you a chart later that shows you why. Because you kind of think, okay, this company is a $5 million company. Are they spending $500,000 on their copiers? Well, you got to look at everything involved with what we consider document technology. And one of the things you'll find out about Rainmaking Company, we're the very best at doing this because we look at the whole picture. We're just not looking at their copier leads. We're just not looking at the printers. We're just not looking at the fax. We're looking at outsourcing. We're looking at how they produce, distribute, store, and retrieve documents internally and externally, with the idea of creating some efficiencies by doing some of those things electronically, paperless, instead of taking things and printing and moving them around and creating all that. Okay, go ahead and go down. So you can see here why these costs. So hard costs are 10%. That's your lease. That's the cost of your cartridges. That's the cost of your maintenance. But you look at all the other things that go through with this, and I'm not going to go through all of them in the interest of time, but people don't realize that there's this much time and effort. And what it is labor cost, okay? And that's a question that you have to ask at some point, is that when you make technology-based decisions, do you evaluate labor costs as one of the factors in making that decision? So if they do, then again, these things are important. So go ahead and keep scrolling down. You guys can. These are all in your Rainmaking guide, and I would suggest that you have a couple of these printed out when you do your role play. And if you hand them to this person, you can read through them while they're looking at it. And then I would have this printed out too. And if you need anything printed, you can send it over to Alicia. She'll have it printed for your meeting, for your training. Okay. So this is a case study. You know, I mentioned earlier, got you on the phone, that I would bring a case study. This is a fictitious assessment that we've done, executive summary, that represents what we do for a lot of clients. So for reasons of non-disclosure, we wanted to show you this fictitious one, but I think you'll like what we've done. First thing we talked about was about our company. And then what I recommend is you ask an open-ended question. When you select a vendor or a partner to help you with you know, your business, what are some things you're looking for? And you know, hopefully you can get, we want great service, we want uptime, we want somebody who's local. You can prompt them on some of those if they don't answer it right, and that's a technique to learn. But then you can give a little skill on the Rainmaking company, and you know, we'll work on that with the YRMC. Then we want to go down, keep going down. Let me grab my. So that's the company profile, and again, you don't want to read off that whole thing. You don't have time, but you might want to hit some highlights based on what they said was important to them. But go to in the Rainmaking guide, page 6, which would be the next page after that. You hear this word workflow a lot, and what is workflow? Well, my definition of workflow is automation and trying to do things that are faster, more efficient, less cost. For example, how many times in your office is a document handled? And if we can route things electronically instead of the old way of printing and then distributing, we want to distribute electronically and only print when necessary. And that's a big saver, not only on hard costs, but on labor costs. And go to the next page. What we find out when we work with a lot of companies are where their challenges are, and we've kind of highlighted these things. You can touch some of the challenges we have: outbound faxing, inbound faxing, how they store and retrieve documents, things they might be doing, sending outside that take time and money, how are they handling the printers, and again, some of the labor costs associated with that. Now, what our objectives are, if you go to the next page, Lisa, are 3 typical things. Is number 1, we want to find out what the total cost is. And you could ask them, you know, based on some of the things I just showed you, and the fact that it could be the 3rd highest cost in your office, could you tell me what your total cost is for document technology? 99% of the time, they don't know. And you might have a purchasing agent that says they know, but they really don't know when they get down to it. And if they do say yes, well, great. That's going to help us speed along our assessment. Okay? But find out what the total cost is. Understand the environment that your company has as far as handling document technology and workflow. How are you moving and sharing information? And then probably most importantly, reduce those costs and then control them so you have a methodology to budget going forward. The next few pages are basically an inventory. What we do is we take an inventory, we install a simple utility that helps us track. I would like to do a walkthrough to look at all your assets, your output-based assets, and then we'll get costs associated with that. So at the end of the day, on page 13, if you go down where it says current versus proposed cost, this is what we'd like to show you. We'd like to show you what you're spending today in all these areas: outsourcing, faxing, printing, copying, It could be, storage devices, file cabinets, could be some of that too. This is more just the output devices and outsourcing costs, but this is kind of a typical thing that we find is there's a monthly savings and annual savings, and what we look at over a 5-year period. And, then you can ask a qualifying question. And again, I've been skipping those because this is a kind of an overview of it. But if you watch my video, you'll probably count that I asked at least 10 open-ended, qualifying, trial close type questions. How would something like this help your company, Chris? Or how would a savings, Aaron, in your organization, how would you repurpose the savings to help you become more profitable? Or different things like that. Okay? So now we get to the point where, and I'm going to kind of skip through this because we don't have time to go through it. Besides, those are hard costs. Earlier I showed you soft costs and some of the areas that you could have some continued costs. You can go through some of those things. As we mentioned, we have plenty of companies that we work with here locally that can vouch for us from the assessment process and how we help them. And then let's go to, and if you've asked the right question, you should be getting nods. You should be getting them talking about how this is going to be a great study. Like one of the things, that I ask, one of the key ones I ask in between is how do you see a study like this helping you reach your goals you mentioned earlier? They're going to talk about it. They're going to say, well, oh yeah, that sounds great. Or you could ask, how would this study impact your company? So you're going to get all these positives if you ask it right. And when you get to this part, well, gosh, sounds like I'm excited to do this project for you. Again, we're doing an assumptive close. Let me tell you a few things about what we need. First of all, it takes us about a month to do it. And that's for a bigger company. Jim can tell you a little bit Monday about how to do it with smaller companies in a 2-week period, faster turnaround. You don't want to probably spend a month on a company who's got, 1 copier and, 3 printers and a fax machine. You can do that in 2 weeks. But a company that has multiple, copiers, 6 or 7 printers, a couple fax machines, they outsource, you want to take the time. And you take an objection off the table right at that point. It takes us about a month. Now, we can do it quicker, but number one, I want to do a very thorough study for you so you can make a great decision for your company. And I also do not want you to, or your employees to not be able to do their day-to-day job. I know that's paramount, and I will not slow them down for what they need to do a great job for your company day-to-day. So with that being said, 30 days out, my calendar looks like I would have some time the week of April 11th. Can you see what you have available for that day? And now you get an appointment to present. It's on their calendar, they're somewhat committed, and that's a good first step. Secondly, we're going to be asking you for some information that I would think that you would want to keep confidential. It's not earth-shattering company secrets, but it's copies of leases and contracts and some of your accounts payable information, so we can get the right information and do a great study for you. And then reciprocally, this is a copyrighted process that Rainmaking has, and I would like you to keep this confidential between you and your team also. Fair enough? Get them to sign the document. It's a great way to get it. When you start getting signatures, whether you're asking for, fill out a credit statement, ask them to sign a non-disclosure, psychologically, in my opinion, they're already doing business with you. And so they sign that, and then lastly, you told me a little bit earlier about some of your goals, and if we're able to meet those goals and make a recommendation to you based on technology to help you reduce costs, become more profitable, streamline some processes, help you become more sustainable, I'd like to know if you'll do business with me and do it within the time frames that we agree upon. So those are the 3 things. You need to have access to information, non-disclosure, or 4 things: an agreement to do business, and a date to present. When you can do those 4, you're going to make it in this business big time. Every one of these sales, every one of these assessments we do, the average sale is $26,000. Some of you guys have a quota, a ramp-up quota, might be 15, 20, maybe 25, ramp-up 30, 40, 50. Okay, one of these sales can get you your first month's quota. 2 of them, you get 200%. As you build up your quota, it's not uncommon to get 3 of them. Now you get 3 of them, and you'll be in Ireland next year with Jim, okay? Because that's $80,000 a month times whatever months. You'll make the trip. And again, it's not easy, but if you follow this and have conviction and get good at it, you can do it. So the last thing that you say, you want to get a commitment to meet with that person next week. You want to get introductions and those type of things, and you'll see that on the video. Any questions? Comments?
No.
Anything else?
Nothing.
No, I would say, as a comment, a couple of the things that I think are really important are the 2 that you touched on of being open-ended in your conversation with them to get them to talk about what is very important to them. Once you get that conversation going and you can repeat it back to them and keep coming back to it, I think that was one of the best things I heard in your appointment meeting.
Good. Yeah, it is important. It is, the great salespeople are awesome listeners and good talkers. And if you're organized and you ask those great questions, you can get to that point. So, good. Okay, well, you guys all have your work cut out for you. As Jim mentioned, come here ready to go, because that's the way we roll here at Rainmaking Company. We're fast movers. We want to support your success. We will work as hard as we ask you to work. Jim and I won't ask you guys to do something that we haven't done before or aren't willing to do. If you want Jim to jump on the phone with you, make some phone calls with you, I would. He's great. And, we don't have such a big ego that we're not willing to roll up our sleeves and get after it. And I think you'll enjoy your experience. Any questions, any information you need, get with Alicia. She's done a lot of work on organizing this. It's going to be a great boot camp. And it really is. That's why we named it that, because it is a little militaristic, and that we're going to work hard, and 24/7 for 3 days. And but I think you'll come out of there very thrilled that you came to work at Rainmaking Company, and that you have a road to success.
Thank you.
Okay.
Time with all of you on Monday.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.